Welcome back to that Heartbreak Hogs podcast. Today we are going to go over what happened in Fayetteville against the Texas Longhorns, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming game against Louisiana Tech. But before we get started, if you guys are new here, please consider throwing a like on this video, subscribing to our channel. We are an independent channel. We work hard making this content. We love the Razorbacks. We love talking college football, college basketball. And it really does mean a lot the more Razorback subscribers we get so that we get to talk more Razorback football with everybody. With that being said, we're going to swing back into this video and talk about what happened on Saturday, Sid.
Very unfortunate game. I will say that. Um, I know you wanted this really bad. I know you want, and you've probably heard a lot of chatter up there in Austin. And we're watching it with the fam and with friends, and yeah, um, didn't start off too hot. I mean, this game, I texted you. I was about ready to bench Taylon Green, and
Yep.
you agreed at that point. And then
Mm-hmm.
we had a little spark that got us going in the third quarter. And honestly, we're a different team. We're doing really well, and it was great to see. But then the same old Hogs happened once a couple plays didn't go our way. All the momentum that was on our side just kind of flipped, and then the game was pretty much over. Um, Defense, I knew from start of the game, I was like, I don't think defense is playing great, but I don't think they're going to be able to hold up. We got to stay out on the field more. We Offense has got to stay out on the field more. The defense can't do it all. They're playing great right now, but they're going to get tired.
Yeah,
To their credit, they played well majority of the game. They didn't get tired. There were a few plays that I wish we could have had back, but outside of that, defense did a really good job
they did.
this
They played
game.
hard.
And yeah, offense's credit. I mean, I wish we could have done better in certain situations where it was like a 2nd and 1 instead of trying to go for a deep ball and throwing it high to Broden.
Mm,
That play comes in mind. Just getting the yardage and kind of me thinking to myself like, let's just get the first down. Even before he threw that, like let's just move it down the field slowly, like methodically, and kind of stay control the game.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, again, that first half momentum was lost after that pick,
Mm-hmm.
which was in Broden's hands, and so it wasn't fully on Talon, but it was a little bit higher. And again, it was just a play call, which I didn't like in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, man, like you said, I really wanted this one. This was a game that I was looking forward to for, since it was announced. Um, and I live in Austin, Texas. I'm surrounded by Texas fans. There's quite a few Aggie fans here as well. So yeah, it's been rough, man. And some of the people at my work that didn't really have a horse in the race, but they were rooting for Arkansas, um, just because of they were the underdogs, and it would have been cool to see. But whenever I got back to work, they were like, you guys had your chances. The Hogs had their chances, and somebody's gonna get Texas. Um, it just I'm still not convinced that Texas is a top 5 team. Um, you know, sure they've won a lot of games, but when your key wins are Arkansas and Vanderbilt, you know, with how Arkansas has looked the last 3-4 weeks, I just don't know. And honestly, they were under Texas was underwhelming in the fact that they came in with one of the best passing attacks in the SEC against one of the worst pass defenses in the SEC. Couldn't do anything. And shout out to the crowd for being loud, being active. The announcers multiple times talked about how loud it was there for an 11 a.m. game, and how Quinn Ewers just couldn't get into a rhythm. And shout out to the defense for really putting their all into it. And like you were saying, Sid, they couldn't do it forever. They just couldn't.
Hmm.
And it sucks that a few broken plays led to scores by Texas. And then those fumbles, man, it just always those two fumbles bounced Texas's way both times. It was either Texas fumbled it out of bounds right into our player, but it was out of bounds, and or it was a fumble that our offense had went right into the Texas defender's hand, inbounds, of course. Um, so we had our chances. I'm trying to think of the pick that Taylon Green threw. There was one that it wasn't on him, and that's just the luck of Broden, man.
Hmm.
That man, like, he's about to make a big time catch, gets hammered, and then the ball pops up in the air right to the defender. Um, and
You've got to be able to, yeah, bring that down. But yeah,
yeah, or just don't let it go up. Don't let it go up like
yeah.
that. You know, long story short, they had their chances, and I don't know what the offense was doing in the first half. Like you had been saying, we were kind of texting back and forth about maybe having a QB change. And anybody that's watched our stuff from the beginning knows that I've been a big proponent of Taylon Green. I've been a defender of Taylon Green. I think that he has been our best opportunity or best option to win the game. I think they should have tried out Singleton. I felt like the way that Taylon was playing, you weren't going to win with him playing like that. So if you weren't going to win with him playing like that, try out another one if the outcome is going to be a loss. I don't know. Did you get that same vibe? Like watching that first half, I was like, they're not going to win with Taylon. Like
Yeah.
they're not. They're not going to win with Taylon. They may get close, like they may kind of keep it somewhat close, but they're not going to win. And I
Hmm.
was just like, throw in Singleton and see if he sparks that offense a little differently. Uh, Texas does not respect Taylon's throwing, and their game plan was perfect. The play calling was weird at times, like you said, 2nd and 1, and you're throwing a deep ball. And then Taylon he was running the opposite direction than he should have in multiple times where there were holes that the offensive line had like given him where he could run through the gap
Hmm.
and get some yardage. And
And yep.
yeah, or he was running the wrong direction and there was a guy wide open for a touchdown. And he was running backwards the whole time and underthrew the pass because he took a bad angle, from what it looked like that he had kind of taken a bad angle on that play. And the offensive line is still an issue. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on about missed opportunities. Um, I will say this: I'm really glad that they showed up and they played hard. Um,
Hmm.
at least the defense. I felt like the team overall played hard. The offense just looked lost, which is wild for a Bobby Petrino team. But the offense looked absolutely lost, and it didn't really look like Texas was doing anything that complex. I don't know. I don't know what was up with the offense, but hats off to the defense, man. You guys on defense, you guys can either play really well or just like where you at. But
Yeah.
when y'all are on, man, when that defense is on, they are really good. But man, get some consistency. Please do this the next two games. Please do this if there's a bowl game, do that in the bowl game. Like show up like this for the rest of the season, and you're gonna give this team an opportunity to beat Mizzou at the very end.
Yeah. Game plan for defense, majority of the game, like, was well. Like, we went after Quinn
Yeah.
Ewers, and we knew he wasn't gonna run it. Like, we got after him. We sacked him a couple
Yeah.
times, just because we knew he again had to go after him, and he had to make that throw because he's not gonna run it.
Mhm.
So
Right.
There was a couple one play I remember where he slipped out and almost made a play happen, where he almost got sacked, but he slipped out, and
Mm.
um, that's always a possibility. But I'm glad that
Yeah.
the rushing attack was there,
It
and
looked pretty
we
good.
went after him.
Yeah.
Besides the one play where their receiver was wide open for that touchdown,
Yeah, I know.
um,
I think
and
we all remember that one.
I have a couple of coworkers that are Texas fans, and one of them was saying like, "Yeah, man, he's been doing that for a few games. Like it's been the it's he's just with the pump fake, he gets defenses, and he's just been able to do that for a few games." And I'm like, we should have known that.
We should have known
Our
that.
DB should have known that,
Yeah.
prepared for it,
Well,
and
they were flying.
that,
They were
um, yeah, well, we were flying. uh, but I saw that in the first half, and I was like, we can't do this. No, not right now. We haven't scored a single point. We cannot
be
trying to
flapping.
fly. um, but
Yeah.
credit to Talon in that I called him having fish brain last week, in that if he's
Yeah.
doing bad, it gets in his head and he continues to do bad. And to that point, I mean, the first half, I was spot on, dead
Yeah.
spot on. Like he just couldn't make it happen in the first half with
No.
anything. And the second half, he started off strong with the Armstrong, a hell of a player.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I love this. Yeah, he's a great player. I mean, he's NFL caliber ready, and like just him going and making tough grabs, and that kind of helped Talon get the confidence level up and kind of going down and sticking with it. And then we just kept rolling. We just got rolling. And of course, make the play, the second dumb play, in my opinion, of that I can think of was the fumble, right? When we had all the momentum, we're leading the charge down the field, and then
Yeah.
we hand it off to a guy who doesn't is a freshman, true freshman, and doesn't. Um, I would think it was his first time in the game, and he just ended up fumbling the ball. Um, that just cannot happen. And that when we have that much momentum, why would you give it to that kid? Like, he didn't protect the ball. You can clearly see he didn't protect the ball well. Um, this was just a missed coaching play call, I guess. The second missed coaching play call that I can think of, besides that 2nd and 1. I'm not taking that first down. This was another one where I don't know. We have all the momentum. We're moving down the field. And you give it to this kid who got it smacked out of his hand. Um, so a couple coaching mistakes, which those I can think of in my head. Obviously, in the first half, me thinking also Malachi put him
Yeah.
in. That being another one. There's a few coaching things where could it have gone differently if those went differently? I'd like to think so,
Mhm.
but I just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. We just don't know. Um we could say, they should have done this. This would have happened
But like
and all
2nd and
that.
1, like Texas knew that we weren't going to run the ball. If you saw that how that defense was like lined up,
Right.
they knew we were trying to pass the ball to go deep, and we still didn't make a like a play call that changed it up and just got the first down when we saw that they knew what we were doing. Um,
Yeah.
Talon, I mean, didn't obviously they went after him. He didn't have any like his -4 rushing yards for this game. But
Yeah, and the sacks were just huge chunks of yardage. It would be like that they would have a 30-yard drive or something and then lose 15 of it from a couple sacks.
yeah, just running backwards, like which we had talked about last week, just be able to throw it away.
Yeah.
Um, you're not a running back, you're a quarterback. Like
Yeah.
you
That is
can throw it
something
away.
why why aren't they teaching him that in practice of throw it away? Like this is how you throw it away. You know where your
Hmm.
receivers are supposed to be, just throw it away after, X amount of time and you're scrambling out of the pocket, throw it away.
Was it
Um,
you that brought up the idea? I can't remember if it was you or someone else that was like, "What if we put Malachi in and kept Talon in at the same time, um, and have Malachi like throw it to Talon?"
Throw it to him.
Um,
That wasn't me, but that's a good idea. Kind of like a flea flicker type of thing,
kind of just like
like a double
having Talon
reverse type of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, might be a good play call. Because we know Talon's ability to like maneuver and whatnot. I don't know if he can catch or not, but I know I think it would just like kind of throw off the opposing team a little bit and see what he can do. Obviously not full time, but it would be like a kind of like a Taysom Hill, but obviously Talon doesn't have that size, but we know how fast he is and how
Hmm.
he can maneuver when he gets the opportunity. So I think someone had brought that up to me over the weekend, so I don't remember who, but shout out to them.
Yeah. No, that would be an interesting thing to do. Yeah, it's getting harder and harder for me to stand up for Talon with this kind of stuff because again, I just didn't feel like that, and I don't know if I was the only one feeling that, but it was just like I don't think Talon is going to win us this game. We need a new type of spark, and we've got a really capable backup apparently, and let's just see what happens. And it's like, if we're already going to lose and it's already, we already have 0 points at that point
Mhm.
of the game. It was like, let's try something else. Let's throw something at Texas that they didn't prepare for and see what happens. And again, what's tough about this loss is we had our chances, and with Arkansas teams, when they have their chances, it's it seems more times than not they fumble their chances. And that's what's tough about this is because you had your opportunities in this game. And Texas had lost momentum, you had momentum, and this is the other thing about the defense that was hard to watch is how great they were playing, and when you really really needed them to make a stop, like after we had scored 10 points and it's 13-10, you just need your defense to make one more stop. Just y'all have been stopping them all game long. One more stop, Texas drives all the way and gets a touchdown. And
Mhm.
I think that is what really kind of put this things away. And it was tough to watch that where it was like, man, when the defense really needs to win the game, and we've talked about this on here, and I've voiced my concern about that, is the defense seems to play really, really good, but in the really key moments that it matters, they let the other team score. I will give them the Tennessee game. They won that game. So I'll give them that. But there are a lot of these games that it seems that the other team makes a key drive at the very end of the game after the defense has been holding them. We just
But
need one last stop.
I think when the momentum died for the offense, it died for after that fumble, it died for the defense too.
Well,
It,
that
it
was
died for the
after
whole
that
team.
that was whenever Texas was already at 20.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. When we fumbled, so on their drive, on their
Mhm.
game-winning drive, they fumbled the ball out of bounds.
Mhm.
Texas did, and then they ended up
Yeah, yeah,
scoring
yeah.
because they kept it, and they got a touchdown
Yeah.
to put 20.
But
And then on our return from that, when we were down 20-10, that's when we fumbled.
yeah, so even with the even I think the little things like throw the defense off. I agree with you in that, like the
Yeah,
fumble out of bounds.
the
Um,
loss is not on the defense. I'm not trying to say that. It was
them
just
converting a fourth down, like Texas converting a couple fourth downs, and
I
like
just wonder
I
what
think
would have happened if the defense stopped them whenever it was
yeah.
13-10. If we had stopped them on that drive, that game-winning drive by Texas, would our offense have gotten to a field goal? Would they have gotten to a touchdown to make it 17-14 or 17-13? like what would have happened. And
And
I know
we
you
had a
could,
chance
you
before
know,
that, even before they scored even 20.
yeah.
Um, didn't we have a chance to like take the lead?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
like
we
it
did,
was
and
supposed to be
he
14-13.
yeah, yeah, and he underthrew it. Um,
Hmm.
and that's what I was talking about earlier. Is he kind of took a bad angle? The offensive line collapsed, and he underthrew a wide open pass.
Like
Um,
having that first lead in the third quarter for having 14-13 would have been
yeah,
huge,
it
electric
would
for
have been
that
huge.
atmosphere too. They just would have been so much louder. So it hurt. I
Yeah,
mean, it sucks to talk about it, but like
at least they didn't get
it's
blown
missed
out.
opportunities. They
They
covered.
did, yeah, they covered, meaning that they did better than expectations. I was scared to death they were going to get blown out. And we
Hmm.
tried to jinx them. We tried to help, jinx Arkansas by saying, oh, there's no way Arkansas wins. If they win, we're going to do, eat 5 serrano peppers. Because we really wanted Arkansas to win, and we wanted to try to find unique ways to, you know, to win this game, to help contribute to a win. But I'm glad that they didn't get blown out, because man, that would have been tough. So you'd
Hmm.
said you thought that maybe I'd been hearing a lot from Texas fans about the game. Honestly, Texas fans are more disappointed by how they played than winning.
Hmm.
So they're not even that proud of it. Where I didn't even get bombarded by messages going like Arkansas sucks, da, 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 which I get a lot of down here. And it's anybody that thinks that this doesn't mean anything to Texas is full of it. Texas fans hate Arkansas. I have been shunned my whole life wearing red in the state of Texas. So anyway, they didn't really bother me after this one, because they were more like, man, we've got some things we need to fix. Like yours
Hmm.
is looking a little concerning. This that you know,
Yeah,
but
no, it'd
yeah.
be interesting to see how they do against these couple weeks coming up, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know they've got A&M still play to left to play. So,
Yeah, that'll be, I think, a definer, because if they beat A&M, that's a key win there.
hmm.
That's going to show, hey, if you go into Kyle Field and they hate you just as much as Arkansas does,
Oh yeah.
um, you go in there and you get a win, you're a legit team. But if you lose that,
Hmm.
what have you really proven? Like your other big game was Georgia, you lost at home when you were like a 7-10 point favorite, something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
and then they also said, I think this year, the or same as every year, but like this year, the conference play is going to matter too in determining the
mhm.
playoff spots. So Texas is going to have
Yeah.
to if win in the conference play too.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna try to check this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. So Vanderbilt is ranked number 10 in the SEC. Arkansas is number 11. That's Texas's top 2 wins.
Hmm.
What about, and this is no disrespect on Arkansas, I'm just kind of putting this out there. What about that screams playoff to you? You know, um, that's the bottom half of the SEC. If Vanderbilt beats LSU this weekend, they move up. If Arkansas beats Missouri, they're going to move up. But as of right now, unless Vanderbilt and Arkansas continue, win out, basically, that's Texas's resume right there, and that's why I think it comes down to A&M for them. But this isn't a Texas podcast, so let's stop talking about them. But we'll just have to see. That'll be interesting. Yeah, that'll be interesting. But let's get into the next game if you're ready for
Hmm.
that.
La
Um,
Tech.
yes, sir. So this we don't like using this term as this is a must win, but you could not drop this game and be taken seriously by the national media. Or anybody. I think if you lose this game, Sam might be out after that game.
Yeah, so
Um,
I was gonna say there. I have a coworker that had an interesting take that I don't fully agree with just yet because he was like, if we beat La Tech this week, even if we lose to Mizzou, I think Sam stays. He was like Sam stays for sure. Actually, next year, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I know we both did agree that if somehow we lose to La Tech this week, Sam's definitely out. And I think that's across, even if you're wanting Sam to stay, not wanting Sam to stay, we've been winning games that must win or should
Mm-hmm.
win. Um, but yeah, I think even if he wants, whoever wants Sam to stay, whoever doesn't want Sam to stay, if he loses this game, I think it's going to look very bad on his resume.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I've been hearing a lot of things too about this. There's a lot of stuff going out right now that if Sam, as long as he gets to 6 wins, he's safe. Um, there's just a lot going on with college football, the revenue sharing to to afford a buyout. Um, However, with if you lose to La Tech, I think that reduces the buyout by enough where it's manageable. If you beat La Tech, you're gonna have a higher buyout. If I understand that correctly, I think that's how it is set up. So this is a key game for Sam. He's got to win this one to keep his job, and if he wins this one, he'll probably keep it or be given the option to either decide whether or not he wants to come back or not next season. And there's different stuff out there too about him not wanting to come back. That he has health stuff. He doesn't want to deal with NIL anymore. You know, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. You know, I'm not rooting for him to lose or the Razorback to lose. I want them to win out. Like I want them to
Yeah.
win this game, win the next game, win a bowl game if we get to one, and go 8-5. I would still only count that as 7-5, but like say, like you can put that 8 there, but it's it's a participation 8. What you really did was
Yeah.
7.
The thing also comes down to, which I've been said in the past, but if Sam is not going to be the guy for going forward, who do we get? With like, let's say it's not Sam's decision, it's our decision.
Yeah.
It's your check's decision, not our, but it's your check's decision. He has to have someone in mind that can do better. If not, why not just keep Sam? I don't want another mediocre coach just to have that. Oh, we might be good, we might not be good.
Yeah.
We already
Um
have that in Sam.
yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind is Petrino as an option. I'm not saying that would be my first option, but I think that's something that you at least look into. You know what's weird about the Pittman situation, and I haven't really researched this a whole lot, so I mean I could be wrong, but it is something that I've kind of wondered. As far as I know, Pittman doesn't really command one side of the football, play calling. Um, because he's not the offensive guru, the offensive coordinator. Like, for example, Lane Kiffin, he's an offensive guy. Sarkisian, offensive guy. For the most part, they're kind of calling that head coach is kind of calling the plays, calling the strategy and stuff. Where Pittman basically assigns people to do that for him. And they may try to get somebody that's actually a play caller, whether it's the defensive side or the offensive side, um, and then gets a supporting cast around, and that would be a Petrino. The only thing with Petrino is the Taylon Green stuff. The Taylon Green stuff doesn't really look good. And I'm not here to just shame Taylon Green. I do like him as a player. I think that he has talent and things. But there have been a lot of situations that the same mistakes keep being made. And those mistakes are not throwing the ball away when you need to throw it away, taking these long sacks, not hitting the right gaps, reading defenses late, like reading, not hitting your first read when the wide receiver, that's when you need to throw it. He hesitates, and now he gets sacked instead of hitting him right then and there. And some of the
Yeah,
play
I think some
calling.
of these things I think obviously are too late in the season to fix,
Yeah.
and too little, too late. Now at
Well, it
this
doesn't
point,
seem
it's
like
just
any of it has been corrected. I mean, this has happened since
well,
game
that's what I'm
one.
saying. So too little, too late, as in
Well, I
like,
guess game two, but because
um,
game one was kind of flawless, but
we
game
can't.
two,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
we can't change it now. I'm saying
yeah,
like we got 2 games left,
yeah.
um, and
Well,
then
I'm
maybe a
just
bowl
saying
game.
it's odd that Petrino didn't attempt to make some sort of change, and that would be my only thing. Like if I were in that interview room with him, going like, "Hey, where, what would you like, or would you like to be the Arkansas head coach, the next head coach? What would that look like?" I would also question what's up with some of the things going on in the offense. Why haven't you made these changes? Like, do you think that there should be changes? What would you have done differently about some of these scenarios, knowing what you know now versus then? Because it does seem like that the offense has been kind of stagnant. In SEC play, they've really slowed down and they don't really seem to make adjustments. We'll say they did make some adjustments in this Texas game at the second half that worked, but like overall, I mean, the offense just looked really bad, and um, that's on Petrino. And this whole one more thing, real quick, Sid, is this because this has been bothering me too. Is I keep hearing people saying you need a 2-year system. Bobby Petrino in year 2 is going to be really good. You can't have 2 and 3 year systems anymore with the transfer portal. How many guys on offense are you getting back next year? And do you want Taylon Green back? Like most fans would say no. And I'm not advocating against Taylon Green, or I'm not trying to say no Taylon Green, but it's kind of like, if your coach has a 2 or 3 year system, unless if I'm just looking at this wrong, I don't feel like that works nowadays because you have so many new faces. Now maybe a second year for a quarterback, they may make a bigger difference, sure, but for the most part, it's like, you know, eh, eh, you can't really have that 2 and 3 year system, in my opinion, anymore.
I
And if that's
do.
the case, then we're behind.
Well, no, I do agree that experience in the system helps. Um, just kind of understanding the system, having more confidence
Yeah,
on the in the second year. But I will say this: when I talk about in the second year, the difference with Arkansas and being in the SEC is the second year doesn't get easier. If you look at the schedule for
yeah.
next year, it's gonna
Oh
get
boy,
tougher.
yeah. A
Like
seven and five this year is a 5-7 next year.
our away games are gonna be tough next year. So
Yeah,
in
Texas,
a sense, second
LSU,
year, like in other
Ole
conferences,
Miss.
yes, maybe like a second year, kind of understanding the team, kind of gaining the confidence. But here, you're gonna be same as your first year, and that the tougher schedule kind of outweighs the experience that you had in your first year, moving
Yeah,
on to your second year. And so that's the difference I see with Taylor in Arkansas and moving on to with him for next year.
that's a fair point. Um, yeah, and maybe I'm being too hard on that aspect. It's just, man, it's just getting frustrating. It really is. It's frustrating to watch some of this because it's like, man, you had your chances, and it felt like that the chances were coaching mistakes, you know?
Mhm.
And it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, and next year is just not easier, like you were saying. It's not. And if you keep all these guys and it blows up and we're 4-8 next year, you know, then we're in really big trouble. Like if we find a way to finish this 6-6, 7-5, something like that, build some momentum, and I feel like if you find a guy, and there, the whole question is who you're gonna get. I get that. I feel like bringing momentum and bringing on somebody new would be better than getting momentum, taking taking that staff here that you just felt like could have done better, and if they
So
flop next year, you lose all of that momentum.
in your opinion, what is the number one thing we would need to have a better record next year? Knowing that we have a tough schedule, what is the number one thing that could potentially change that would get us to a better record than what we had this year, knowing the tough schedule?
I personally, just from what I've seen, I don't think that Taylon Green is going to win a lot of SEC games.
Do you think
I
a
think
change
that,
in quarterback is the number one thing that
but
could
but here's the thing: if you do that
yeah.
change in quarterback, bringing a guy back for a second year doesn't matter because it's the same thing. He's back at year one with a new
Mhm.
quarterback, and so it's like you're making that argument to keep people for. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about in general. Is if we're making that argument that we need to get these guys back and that Petrino's offense in year two is better, but if you need a new quarterback, you're back at year one. And how many times are we going to go back to year one? It's a complex issue, man. There's a lot of variables and there's a lot of competition, and we've really fallen behind with NIL. We've fallen behind in other things. We're catching up, but
I think right
it's a
now,
complex issue, man. Um,
well, right
if
now
we
in
lose to
so
Louisiana Tech, you got to make a change. You've got to make a
yeah.
change if you lose to Louisiana Tech,
Yeah, and for me that's why
in
I'm
my
thinking right
opinion.
now just to be able to have a better schedule next year. I don't think it's possible, but two would be having a hire, a big hire, like that's able to bring in new prospects quickly and kind of change it around quickly. And
Hmm.
like we had with Calipari in basketball, if we are able to do that, that's the possibly the only way I can see that for next year, having a better record. Outside of
Yeah.
that, I think if we don't get a great hire, let's say we replace Pittman, don't get a great hire, I don't see obviously a great improvement from this year. I don't see if it's the same quarterback. I don't see an improvement from this year. If it's a quarterback that's slightly better, I don't see an improvement from next year from this year. If it's Pittman again, even with Pittman, Petrino, this whole everyone we have right now, I don't see a improvement from this year. Knowing the schedule, I think the only thing I can think of is a major change.
Right. I agree because here's the thing. If any momentum that we get out of this, let's say we get to 6 wins. I don't think that Louisiana Tech is an automatic win. I do not think you should overlook that team. You got to make sure that you win. But if we get to six and somehow beat Mizzou, 7 wins. So let's say 6, 7 wins, maybe a bowl game on top. So either 7 with a bowl game or 8 with that bowl game. If you're
Yeah,
in that range, that's a decent amount of momentum. And if you lose 5 next year, or if you go 5-7 next year, you just lost all of that.
but that's what. So you remember 2 years ago where we had that was it 2 years ago or or I don't remember if it was 2 or 3 where we had an 8-5 record.
Yeah.
We won the bowl game, but I think
Yeah.
the following year did terrible.
Went six
The,
and six and then 7-6 with the bowl.
yeah, so like last year, obviously, and then went
4-8.
last year was 4-8. Um, it's like a roller coaster almost. It feels like go slightly up, come back down, slightly
Right.
up, come back down, slightly up, come back down. So it really is just depending on the schedule for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's seeming like it's based off of actual coaching and actual plays. It's just like how the schedule is turning out for us. It might be slightly up, slightly down, slightly up, slightly down.
Right.
And so that I don't think I see it changing again unless we have a major change in coaching and
I
NIL and
I
all
feel the
that
same way.
information. Like next year, I I don't think I think next year is going to be another down year where it's going to be worse than this year
Yeah,
if everything remains the
because
same.
that's
But the
where
following year after that,
yeah.
we'll be back up. We'll go back, ride that roller coaster back up.
Yeah, because
So
that's the thing is, if, the numbers are not in your favor, man. Like they're just not. And look, I'm not saying that Sam can't pull something, out that all of a sudden next year we're this great team. It is possible, but like, look at what's been happening over the last 5 years. What about what has happened in the last 5 years shows that next year will be really successful? And that's the thing is maybe it is time to make that change because again, if you come out with any type of momentum this year and you get some guys in the transfer portal, you spend some money, you get some NIL donations and you start getting like you get some guys on campus for next year and you fail, it is going to be really hard to go and get a coach and rebuild. But if you
I
can go
think
and
this
get a
is the
guy,
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, if you go and get a guy while you're kind of upper mid at that 6, 7, maybe an 8 with the bowl game win, if you can go get a guy with that, it will be easier. And you can say, look at this NIL money. We're going to fundraise NIL money and do all this stuff. You go get a guy with all that, you can bring a lot of momentum to the program, in my opinion, than bringing the
Hmm.
same guy back and potentially doing what has been done the last 5 years. And I'm not sitting here trying to be negative, anti Sam Pittman. I'm just
Well,
talking
no,
about the
I'm just
numbers.
yeah, just changing the program takes
We've we've gone over Sam Pittman's
yeah.
SEC record. We've gone over
And
in his rivalry game record.
you
How are our
complained about the O
rivalries doing?
line. You've
It,
complained about the O line this year. Like he's coming off of I mean, he was a O
yeah,
line coach at Georgia before this. Like if he's able to coach anything, it should be
yeah. Why is the O
our O
line an
line.
issue? And at Ohio State, they were going to fire Ryan Day if he lost to Michigan again. I don't
Hmm.
know if that was super realistic, but the fans were absolutely pissed that he could not beat Michigan. What rivals have we been beating? We have like 5 of them, and we can't beat any of them. We beat Texas once in Sark's first year, and then he
Hmm.
came to our place, beat us. Lane Kiffin's up on us. Um, Texas A&M, we've beaten them once in 13 tries, once in 12 tries, something like that. Um, Mizzou just keeps embarrassing us. What LSU? LSU is. When was the last time we beat LSU? And then when was the last time before that? And it's just like, why are we okay with all of our rivals beating us? All of them. The only one we have a winning rivalry matchup with is not LSU. Sorry, is Texas A&M all time, which we had like a 20 game like ahead. Now it's shrunk to 10 over the
Yeah.
last 10 years. So, we're losing a lead big time with A&M because we can't beat them in recent years. Anyway, there's just a lot to unpack and really consider moving forward to next year of, do you really want to risk bringing a guy back that his track history? Like, you can look for yourself. Look at the track history and find a reason that gives you any kind of, if you remove the name Sam Pittman, just look at the numbers. Only the numbers. If somebody just gave you a spreadsheet and you were looking at the numbers, would you hire that guy? Would you want that guy back? And the reality is the numbers would tell you no. They just would. And there's no excuse about, oh, we the state of Arkansas is hard to recruit in. This, that, and the other. We don't have good enough NIL. We have a top 30 NIL program in the U.S. I was going to say, but in college football, we have a top 30 NIL program. It has work to do. It can get there. Um, we, Oklahoma, for example, historically, Oklahoma's been better than they are right now. Do you think that all of their athletes come from the state of Oklahoma? No. They recruit around the state of Oklahoma and bring big time players from Texas in there and the surrounding states. Arkansas is right next to Texas. They're right next to Louisiana. They're next to Oklahoma, too. Why are we not able to go around the state and grab talent, too? It's possible to do. It's possible to have success here at Arkansas. It's just, whenever I'm going to go back to it, if you look at the numbers and only the numbers, they're indicating that next year will not end so well, unfortunately. End of
Yeah.
rant.
No, yeah. I think we've talked about it as much as we could. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see what happens with end of the season. We'll talk about it a little bit more as weeks go by. But we've got 2 more games left. La Tech this
Right.
week, which is a must win. Um, but
Oh boy,
but
I can't even imagine the reaction if they lose to that
oh
or to
yeah,
lose that game.
I
Um,
honestly I'm okay with us losing that game because of the fact that we'll get a change.
yeah,
But I think the only thing that kind of scares me about that though is kind of speaking that into existence is like we don't have a plan yet after Pittman, and
yeah.
so I don't want to just kind of make a change and then not
It's
have a
gonna be
plan for the
hard to
future.
find somebody too if we put it that
Yeah.
in that position too. Like it'd be better to ride off with some wins and
Hmm.
grab somebody versus a dumpster fire. And
Yeah.
and I do feel like we do need to clarify a little bit here, because you're gonna maybe trigger some people with that comment. Sid is not rooting for them to lose. It's more of I want them to win, but am I going to be that shocked if they pull in Arkansas and lose, or am I going to be that bummed out if the possibility of a new coach arises, kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm talking about the the potential
You know,
future
right?
being better than
But we're
mediocre.
not rooting for Arkansas to lose. It's more of okay, if this happens, okay, how do we feel about it? If that scenario were to happen, you know, and I guess we'll just have to see. Like you said, we got 2 games. We'll just have to see. I
Hmm.
do think that they should beat La Tech. Um, I don't know if I say they should beat Missouri, but they will have chances to beat Missouri.
I hope, well, exactly. I hope we just don't have missed opportunities like we did
Right.
with the Texas game.
Opportunities is the word there. Are they going to take those opportunities and win, or are they going to fumble those opportunities like against Texas, like against
Hmm.
Oklahoma State? I mean, think of how different of a season this would be if we beat Oklahoma State. If you didn't have that L hanging over you, um, we would have a completely different conversation here. I think that people would be like, okay, 6-5, let's get a win against La Tech, or 6-4, let's get a win against La Tech, and we're 7-4 now, going into Mizzou, potential to go 8-4, and then 9-4 with a bowl win. If you had finished the job against Oklahoma State. That's the other thing. It's just like, man,
Hmm.
dude, one game can completely flip the narrative of a season. It really
Oh, there
can.
were a couple of games that could have as well. I
Right.
think, like, yeah, the A&M I look back on, and
Ooh.
um,
Yeah, that one too. That one too.
but
And that's just more evidence to me of like Talon Green getting big time SEC wins. I don't know if he's got it. I just don't. Because we haven't seen him really take control of an SEC game. I mean, I guess you could say Auburn, maybe. Mississippi State, he had a good game, Mississippi State. but those are the bottom of the SEC.
I think this, yeah, I can see us honestly going and winning 2 games, going 7-5. I think Mizzou's beatable. I've been saying this, and
Yeah.
I know they're already out of it, that playoffs after losing to South Carolina.
No more
Um,
playoffs for Drink.
no more Hunt, but I think it would just
Yeah.
help,
Well,
I
right now
feel
they're a
feel
64% favorite on the ESPN matchup predictor.
well, I just feel they're very beatable though. If South Carolina can beat them, we can beat them.
By the way, we're a 93.8% favorite against La Tech.
Yeah, as we should be. I'm surprised it's not
So,
higher.
yeah, that means that yeah, that's better than a 1 out of 10. That means that's better than we beat them 9 times out of 10. That's
Yeah.
better than that. So, do not lose this game. Because then Hugh Freeze will come out and he'll get you. Yeah. Oh, if we
So,
played La Tech 9 more times, we would beat them 9. 9 out of those times. I'm joking, of course, making a joke, but
La Tech won last week, so don't count
uh,
them out.
dude, that's the thing, man. I'm not
They were
counting these
under
boys
they
out.
were underdogs last week, against Western Kentucky,
Yeah, at
and
Western
yeah,
Kentucky,
and so
and yeah, they only let Western Kentucky put 7 points on them. Now, I want to check real quick here. Western Kentucky. I want to see how much offense they usually have. Wow, Western Kentucky had been putting up some points. Their
and
last 4
7-3.
games, yeah, they had been putting up points. Uh, well, Alabama blanked them actually, but
Mhm.
they uh they had 44 points against UTEP, 31 against Sam Houston State. Um, they had 31 against Kent State. New Mexico State they put up 41. Um, so like, yeah, I don't know. We'll just we'll just have to see.
We'll see.
You should beat La Tech, but I kind of have a feeling that it's going to be a little bit closer,
What's
and
the
it's going to
spread right
scare some people.
now?
That's the other thing I'm looking at right now. Um,
'Cause it's
22.
okay.
So I I think there's a possibility
It's
that
closer than
it's
that.
closer than that, or you know, they could light them up. They did against Mississippi State. They responded after a loss to a very mediocre defense and just destroyed them.
Yeah,
So
it'll be interesting also to see how many fans make it to the game. I know it's a home game.
yeah,
Um, it's the week before Thanksgiving. A lot of college kids are like already leaving,
yeah. We'll just have to
obviously,
see. Yeah,
but
we'll see what
we
happens.
will see.
So, anyway, I think we're gonna close this one out. If you made it this far, please consider hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, supporting your boys here. We love our Razorbacks. We love talking about the Hogs. We want them to succeed. And sometimes it seems like we're a little down. Sometimes are harsh on them. It's because we care. We want them to win. We want victories here. We care about them, and we're gonna speak our truth. We're gonna be straight up, about how we feel about things, and we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens, and see what the university decides to do at the end of the year, and hopefully we get some victories and the right decision is made. So, with that being said, we're going to head out of here. You guys should definitely check out the rest of our content. We do a top 25 prediction show where Sid and I go head to head, and the loser has to eat spicy food the very following week. Sid has been whooping me in a lot of these, been getting very lucky, especially last week. Got very, very
No,
lucky.
sure.
Those referees were wearing Georgia underwear against Tennessee, and oh my goodness, I feel bad for Tennessee. If you want an example of the SEC protecting its teams, its top teams like Georgia, That Tennessee game is a prime example of the officiating getting called by the SEC office and saying, hey, you guys cannot let Georgia lose this game. We need them in the college football playoff. So, anyway, with that being said, we're going to head out of here. Check out the rest of our content, and we'll see you guys in the next segment. Later.